Ecology Research Group. Y ahora tenemos 4 lab members: Yvette Arias Delphi, Lera Centena Mejías, Catherine Hernández Rodríguez y Carla Mejías Rivera. Antes de aquí, yo pasé tiempo en la Universidad de Carolina del Norte en Chapel Hill, donde yo estudio geología y ciencias ambientales con Dr. Justin Reese. Y pasé mucho tiempo con experimentos de acidificación océano, y después pasé algún tiempo como field geology con la Universidad de Indiana. Y después de eso tengo un trabajo brevemente donde yo estudio los growth rates de un coral de Siderastria siderea. Y después yo entré a Scripps Institution of Oceanography, donde yo estudio biogeoquímica del mar y especialmente la construcción de los arrecifes de corales y el metabolismo, el cambio del arrecifes corales durante el cambio climático también. Y en nuestro grupo yo estudiamos la química del mar y especialmente la calidad de agua y el metabolismo de los ambientales de arrecifes de corales y zonas de upwelling y seagrass ecosystems también. Y ahora tenemos algunos proyectos donde yo investigamos el net carbonate budgets y clasificación de arrecifes de corales y el rol de sea cucumbers en el carbon cycling en arrecifes de corales y calidad de agua en Bahía de Guayanilla, aquí en Puerto Rico, y variabilidad de particulate organic carbon aquí en La Parguera, Puerto Rico también. Y estoy nuevo a este departamento, este es mi primer año, y entonces la mayoría de mis proyectos está pending con proposals impuestas, pero tenemos un proyecto con ecoeléctrica para monitorar la calidad de agua, y tenemos otras propuestas para calidad de agua de arrecifes de corales cerca de Puerto Rico, y lo mismo para la construcción de arrecifes de corales también. Y un otro es sobre el biogeoquímica y metabolismo de reef structures. Y para el final, ahora tenemos 4 cursos, uno en oceanografía química, y es como un general course, y el segundo es en un Data Analysis Laboratory de química oceanografía, donde usar la programa RStudio para el análisis del data como ciencias abiertas. Y la tercera clase es una clase de contaminación marina, y al final es una discusión de las éticas profesionales en las ciencias marinas. Y sí, creo que es todo. Si hay algunas preguntas, me voy a tratar, y si no, vamos a la próxima. Gracias.
Thank you, Todd. You couldn't have done it in English, but I appreciate your effort.
Yeah.
Right.
Talking into this.
That's fine.
It's better used the other
Okay.
USB. Yeah, unplug this out. Yeah, it's better use this. Yep.
Okay.
I'm Clark Sherman. I'm the professor in geological oceanography in Department of Marine Sciences. But my research really is focused on coral reef systems, the geology of quaternary reef systems. So we're looking at the physical structure and processes and looking over longer timescales than other people in the department are looking at. So looking both at what's going on in modern systems, as well as what's going on over longer periods of time. In rare cases, we can look at fossil outcrops of recent reefs or coring down into current reef structures to look at their history. In modern systems, we've done a lot with sediment dynamics, looking at and specifically looking at the input of terrigenous material into nearshore reef systems. We've had long-going work over in Guanica near the Marine Lab, looking at inputs of terrigenous material using sediment traps and kind of ranking the reefs along the coast there according to how much sediment they accumulate and the portion of that is terrigenous material. And also have subsequently looked at trying to identify the terrigenous-based sources of that material, where it's coming from in the watershed. And then this has led to also collaborative work with Dr. Whale, looking at the growth and calcification of corals along those same reefs, both linear extension based on staining of the corals that was done several years ago and then collecting them afterwards, as well as the net calcification in terms of mass. We also look at reef history, had projects coring into these outer shelf reefs. Looking at their history, we kind of thought that these may be relic structures, but from coring into them and seeing their makeup, radiocarbon dating, we saw that these are all very recent, growing up just in the last couple of thousand years, really. And then along with a lot of other people in the department, we have looked at deeper mesophotic coral reef systems, both here in Puerto Rico, as well as other sites around the Virgin Islands. I've been focused on the geology and geomorphology, using NOAA multibeam to both kind of look for patterns in geomorphology, as well as to identify areas for study. Once again, doing sediment dynamics, looking at both material kind of settling out of the water column, as well as bed load transport going down the slope, photographic surveys over periods of time to look at temporal changes in the bottom. And this is getting at the sediment transport rates over here at different sites. And once again, coring into the deeper reef structures, looking at what they're composed of, the accretion rates, and what are the main structure formers at those depths, which we're finding are very different than the shallow reefs. Oops, I'm not sure why I did that. There we go. And along with work on reefs, we've also done some work in coastal settings, looking at the salinas out in Cabo Rojo, Once again, some coring in there. We find that it, in the salinas, that they were open marine bays very recently, up until about 1,500 years ago. And then there was a transition to mangroves and the current kind of isolated hypersaline ponds that occupy those areas now, which over the last 3,000 years kind of corresponds to the shoreline building out, which is kind of the opposite of what we expected. Although this trend is changing with recent sea level rise, these shorelines are now fairly rapidly eroding backward. And this is kind of interesting. This has turned into some collaborations because of the overlap in the study areas and timing. Turned into a collaboration with a group of archaeologists from the University of Miami that are working in this same area. And so we're kind of putting together the archaeological and environmental histories and seeing how they're related. And those are just kind of highlights of the things that we're working on. And I'll take any questions if you have them. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
Gracias a los profesores que nos han dado pues su tiempo para informarles sobre sus proyectos y sus cursos en el laboratorio. Doctor López, eso es lo que tenemos en el departamento. Los otros profesores lamentablemente no pudieron presentar, pues tienen otros compromisos en la tarde de hoy que no pudieron venir.
Muchas gracias, doctor Whaley. Muchas gracias por todos los profesores del Departamento de Ciencias Marinas por su participación y colaboración con la Casa Abierta Virtual. Esperamos vernos pronto. Si alguno de los participantes tienen alguna pregunta, ya sea para Ciencias Marinas o sea para la Oficina de Estudios Graduados, la podemos contestar ahora.
Ernesto, can I present from the office?
Oh, there's one more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know. This is Dr. Skizas. Okay, yes, you can do it. Try to load it. See if we can see it.
Okay. I'm a little stealth today. Okay.
Yeah, this is Dr. Skizas, our invertebrate biologist, who's going to try to give us his presentation from his lab.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so he can.
Okay, now, can you see the little arrow?
The little arrow.
Here, next to the microphone. Do you see what I pointed?
Yes. Okay,
yes, that one.
Sir.
Click
Okay.
that one and load your PowerPoint.
Okay. Share content. We need permission to share your screen. Go to. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. I just.
Froze it. Pero I think Wilson está caminando hacia tu oficina para ayudarte, Nick. Par de minutos, Héctor, por favor, de paciencia, a ver si podemos hacer esto, si no.
Sí, no, estamos bien, estamos bien.
Okay.
Cuando yo haga el video final que vaya a subir, pues yo esta parte, pues yo la voy a editar y la voy a eliminar de la presentación.
Perfecto. Ok. Vamos a ver lo que...
Mientras tanto, si algún participante tiene alguna pregunta, lo pueden hacer en lo que se resuelve la situación.
Exacto. Y estamos todavía los profesores que hicimos las presentaciones, estamos disponibles para contestar preguntas.
Can you see my screen? I don't know what I'm doing.
I can see your face, but it's frozen. I think Wilson is walking over to your office.
Okay.
See if he can help you. Did you log in through the link, the general link?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I don't know how to do this. Stop saying that.
Can you see the icons where you can load your presentation?
No, I'm lost. No.
Try get out and get in again. Log out and log in. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Clark and Roy. ¿Vas para la cancha o no? Son las 4. Sí, yo dije que yo llegaba a las 5. Sí. Por lo menos una horita tenemos para darle.
Exacto. Ahorita está bien.
Exacto. Okay. Gracias, Roy. Creo que nos quedó bien. Nick, why don't you come over here and do it from here?
Okay, that was good.
Okay. All right. I can see presentation now.
No. Give control.
Load it to full page.
I gave control to Hector Lopez.
Oh, okay. Héctor puede entonces controlar que cargarla a la página, a la screen, full screen. ¿Wilson no está ahí?
No. Okay, well.
Yo no puedo hacer controlar la presentación a menos que yo no la tenga acá.
Exacto.
Pero le puede dar enter.
Ok, dale abajo, Nick, para que la ponga full la pantalla, the full screen.
You can actually see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Oh, okay. All right, sorry about that. I don't know, your time will be worth it anyway. So,
wait. I can only see a little screen on the bottom of the computer here. Can you see it, the full screen, Hector?
Yes, I can see the full screen.
Okay, well, then that's what is important.
okay, yeah, thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, so my name is Nick Schizas. I have been working here in Marine Sciences for 18 years now. And the screenshot that you see is from my lab website, where you can see in detail all the information about my work, my students, and my papers. Okay. And as the title says, I'm using a lot of genetic tools to deal with a lot of problems we encounter in the marine environment. So really, the main theme, the main research themes of the lab since the day we started was to first study the distribution of genetic variation within and among marine species, and under ambient conditions and normal conditions, and also under conditions that the animals may be stressed, okay? And also another very important factor, in another important theme in the work that I've been doing is we're looking at biodiversity of reefs, especially the cryptic groups, the cryptic section of biodiversity, using both traditional and genetic techniques. For the last 10, 12 years, the work in the lab has been funded through different agencies, as you see in the bottom of the slide, but the work has been focused on biodiversity, genetic population connectivity, and effects of major climatic and environmental disturbances, mainly on Caribbean reefs. And most of the work has been done on deeper reefs, some of the reefs that Dr. Whale and Dr. Sherman mentioned. So I have been collaborating with a lot of people. It's the nature of the work that we're doing. A lot of people within the department. Together we're submitting proposals. We're doing the work. Our students are going from lab to lab, doing whatever they need to do. So we provide, I believe, a very nice research collaborative environment. But also, I'm doing work outside of Puerto Rico. I have collaborators in Brazil. I have been developing research programs in Taiwan, and also I have some colleagues in India. I'm just going to say a few things about some recent projects. Dr. Sherman mentioned the one grant we had together on the effects of the major Hurricane Maria on the deeper reefs of Puerto Rico. That funded our work from 2017 to 2019. So my lab concentrated especially on the genomic connectivity of one of the most important species, coral species that is found down there. The species name is Agaricia lamarcki. Many students have been working on this question about if depth plays an important role in delimiting the species in different populations. And we've been looking at genetic patterns found not only on the coral, but also on its symbiotic associates, such as the symbiotic algae, bacteria, archaea. So several theses, several papers have come out of that work. And again, you can find all these papers in my website. Dr. Whale mentioned one of the projects that I'm deeply involved, and it has to do with this devastating coral disease, and where we're looking at the changes of microbiome as the disease affects different coral species. Okay, so for the students that do not know that disease or they haven't heard of that recent disease, it's a relatively new disease that affects, unfortunately, coral reefs throughout the Caribbean, and even worse, it made it to Culebra in 2019, and unfortunately, it's here in Parguera. So we are looking at the changes of microbiomes as a proxy of how the coral responds to this horrible disease. Okay. I wanted to include an upcoming major research activity of the lab. We are part of a NOAA OER exploration grant, and next month I'm going to be joining professors from the Smithsonian, from Temple University, University of Rhode Island, and we're going to be collecting samples throughout mostly the southern side of Puerto Rico. But I want you to pay attention to the major UPRM student participation. In the cruise, I'm going to be accompanied by 2 master's degree students from my lab. I'm going to be sending 2 students for a couple months at the Smithsonian over the summer to learn a lot of new genetic techniques. And also, we have another intern that is responsible for outreach. And I believe Amanda is coming to the department this August. So just a couple things, a little more, because this is brand new. The title of that project is Illuminating Pelagic and Benthic Biodiversity in Deep Waters of Puerto Rico. And when I say deep waters, we start from 200 meters down to 3,000 meters. And I'm really involved in the sections highlighted by the yellow color, where I'm going to be looking at biodiversity with morphological and genomic tools to explore the the unknown of the unknown fauna that is found down there. We're going to be collecting a lot of sediment cores, and also going to be collecting a lot of microbiomes from different corals from those depths. So I'm very excited about this project. So I mentioned that one of the main themes of the lab has to do with the biodiversity of reefs, but not necessarily the big corals, which are amazing, of course, but also what lives on the corals or under the corals or in the sediment trapped by the corals. So we have put a lot of effort there. Again, a lot of students have been involved, but I really want to emphasize the participation of undergraduate students. I have over 70 or maybe 75 undergraduate students that have been working in the lab over the last 10 years. So, and also, of course, it's because a lot of the species are unknown, that work yielded many publications, and we have so many more specimens to process. These are from past cruises that we collected some of those samples. Again, students are involved in every step, and they're not just involved. I mean, they're really leading the work under my help and my supervision, and not just my supervision. I mentioned this work is mostly collaborative, so the students are supervised usually by more than one professor. Anyway, it's a lot of diversity out there, and unfortunately, not too many people are working on it. So we always have a lot of material to work with. It's the beauty, the beauty is in the details, as you see. If you have the right tools, if you have the right microscopes, all of a sudden amazing details come out. And we do have access to these microscopes. I want to also just mention, I have a couple slides on other projects that are not necessarily cryptic, or they're not really small. This is some of the work that one of my students is leading on the diversity of calcareous sponges in Puerto Rico. And also another system that we have been working for a while, and I really enjoy this system. This is the fire coral that you encounter when you go to the shallow areas of Puerto Rico, and the taxonomic situation here is messy. So two students already have finished their master's degree on the system, and we definitely have more questions to ask. So that's another system that we're going to be pursuing. The lab is busy, but I'm expecting a high turnover very soon. This lab is not just available for my students that I directly supervise, but as you see, I have many other students that, let's say, for example, they do one chapter of their thesis in my lab. So it's definitely a busy but a lab with a nice research environment, I believe. Again, all the information that I just mentioned with much more detail can be found on my website, and if you have any questions, you can just send me an email, okay, or just stop by the lab. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let me stop sharing.
Gracias, Nick.
Yep.
Héctor, creo que eso ya es el último presentador del departamento por el día de hoy.
Ok, muchas gracias. Entendemos de que no hay preguntas, porque en el chat tampoco hay ninguna en el chat. Saben que si tienen alguna duda o pregunta, pues se pueden comunicar con nosotros en Estudios Graduados o en la Oficina de Ciencias Marinas si es respecto a su programa. Buenas tardes.
Muchas gracias y buenas tardes.